What do you do with some individual names that have exposure to China more than some others as it relates to retail? Apple's got all of its stores closed today in China. The stock opens, it hits 302 and change, and then bounces to 311. Everybody, for the most part, actually everybody owns it. Liz, you can't talk about it individually, but you can talk about tech more broadly. But what about Apple?
They close 40 stores. I mean, there's this thing.
Well, they close every store they have in China.
Okay, but there's. You ever hear?
They happen to have 40 stores.
E-commerce. Do we believe e-commerce exists? You can't go online and buy iPhones. The App Store can't offset some of the hardware sales contraction. I don't think.
To be clear, the government didn't close their stores. Apple closed their stores out of an abundance of caution.
Yeah, that's
which is what responsible.
China closed their stores.
Yeah,
so Apple closed their stores.
So if you're a shareholder, you're saying, okay, they're paying attention. They're looking to limit liability. They don't want people walking through their stores while there's a contagion.
Okay, so what do you do then with iPhone estimates that are cut now, Steph, because of all of this?
Well, I mean, I think that their guidance partially included some issues in China, right? I mean, so I think to some degree they've de-risked the numbers. Not 100%, but I would say at least half. So, I mean, if it gets worse, it's going to be worse. There's no doubt about it. And this is a China proxy, so it will get hit. That's where you have an opportunity, right? I mean, because the stock has just been on a tear and you can't get in. So if you do get a pullback, this is a great story for the long term.
But you could say that, of all the stocks that people have looked at, and Apple was a big driver of the rally, it went up so much that it was ripe for a pullback. So this was the excuse, maybe to get some people to sell. Sure. You don't truly know what the extent of the situation is going to be there. Citi says each week of no China sales, 850 million of sales, or a reduction of 1.3%. I mean, it's not insignificant stuff. Nobody knows.
Right. And the stock's up 100% over the last year. So it would be stranger if it didn't go down.
Listen, nobody knows, but that's a great setup. If you give me some unexpected negative earnings over the coming quarters, and then on the back end of the year, we introduce new iPhones and we have the implementation of 5G, I like that setup.
They're unexpected negative earnings, but they're explainable negative earnings. So it's fundamentally everything is remaining sound. That's a buying opportunity.
Here's where I want to go here. Okay, last week. Now, I wasn't here Friday, but obviously the market had a terrible day. I got the feeling like everybody was on edge. There was a sort of a sense of alarm in the market. And it seems to me that most of you are, I don't know if I want to be now dismissive of what's going on, but not overly worried about it. You're buying some stocks. You're buying stocks.
Net seller of equities in January. I've said that on air. I was a net seller of equities. I rotated. I did what I needed to do. I'm comfortable where I sit right now. I want to see if companies are going to buy back their shares in February.
You feel this way today, though, because you felt like last week, including Friday, was a flush of some sort and maybe a near-term bottom?
No, I don't think it's over. I agree with what Jim Cramer said. I agree with everyone's comments. I don't think it's over. I think it's political risk tonight. The absence of buybacks, which I just mentioned, is at risk for the month of February. I just want to sit back, observe, look at the environment. And the way I see the environment right now, consumer remains strong. That's the one place I have confidence.
You have no worry at all that if the number of cases here in the U.S. starts to develop a little bit?
Game changer. Game changer if it's in the U.S.
Well, it already is in the U.S.
8.
I get that. But you're confident enough to buy consumer, facing names, thinking that it's not going to. I'm not suggesting it's going to be as bad here as it's going to be in China or anything like that. I'm not trying to suggest that it will.
You're not selling the fear. You're being reasonable. But I measure it versus the flu that we deal with on a seasonal basis here. And I measure it against that, and we would need to see, it would be a game changer if there is a significant increase in the number of cases that are confirmed in the United States.
What do you do with a Nike? Okay, 18% of Nike's revenue comes from China.
No, I mean, they've been doing such a great job, and they have an analyst day coming up, and they're going to show all their innovation and supply chain initiatives and the improvements there. Margins are going higher. It's a fabulous, fabulous company. I sold it because I took gains. It's trading at 33 times forward estimates. I do not think this analyst at UBS he believes that you're going to go to 37 times forward estimates. I just don't see that. That's really hard. But I get the quality. If this one were to pull back, and it is down 9% from its high, not enough for me to buy because it didn't get cheap enough, but it is certainly a high-quality name that you would want to be buying on weakness.
So airlines have gotten hit pretty well?
Yes.
You're buying more Delta?
I'm buying more Delta. Delta's got the least exposure to the Far East. They had their earnings couple weeks ago. They had an analyst day a couple months ago. This is an investment grade, real company run as an industrial company, not as an airline company anymore. And I think the opportunity, it's down 10%.
What do you mean by that? Not as an airline company?
Well, they're actually looking to grow profits, not just grow seats. They're looking to say, how do we optimize running our business as opposed to, I just need more people flying in my seats and filling them up.
What do you do with the United?
United,
big exposure to Asia.
Yeah, I think it's too early to start dipping into United. United has a huge exposure. They had exposure to Hong Kong. The stock pulled back when the Hong Kong issues were going on. China issues, they're really in there. So I think that stock could come back a little bit more. And in that case, I like the Delta management a lot more too.